Sorry.
This is a test of
Trying to
our
fight off of
YouTube
migraine.
audio.
But I survived.
Can you hear me okay?
My drugs. We're gonna, I'm Thomas Barrett, I'm the chairman of the Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission. Tonight I'm gonna call the meeting to order, Thursday, September 18th. And the first item of business is approval of the meeting summary for November 21st, 2024. There a motion to do that? Motion's been made to approve the meeting summary of November 21st, 2024. Is there a second? Well, I wasn't there.
I'll second. No, I do have a question. For staff. Why is it?
We're catching up. There was, so we've kind of been doing it in a weird way. We were first doing it like most recent and going back, and then there was a chunk that we didn't have because the holidays and things like that. So we wanted.
You're cleaning up everything.
Yeah, we're cleaning everything up, so don't worry.
Because I was like, when I was reviewing the minutes, it's been a while. So, okay.
Yeah, I was like ancient history.
It's like nostalgia.
We just wanted to bring it back for everything that your
Okay.
questions.
We have a motion and second to approve the meeting summary of November 21st. Are there any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Okay, first item and only item of business, with the exception of a county report, is the public hearing on Wakefield Valley Development Plan Amendment DP 24-01, parcel W and X. And open the hearing and turn it over to Mark Depot. Before I do that, has everybody that wanted to testify signed in? So I can go through the sign? Okay, perfect. Okay, Mr. Depot, the floor is yours.
Let's just get this over to you real quick. Okay, as stated, this is a public hearing for Wakefield Valley Development Plan Amendment DP 2401 for parcel W and parcel X. The parcel W is 38.2934 acres and parcel X is 16.0695 acres. Parcels W and parcel X are owned by WB Westminster LLC in Zone C Conservation Zone. WB Westminster LLC, the applicant, initially submitted an application to amend the Wakefield Valley Development Plan, again, DP 2401. This is the proposed fifth amendment to the Wakefield Valley Benby Farm General Development Plan. Just real quickly, the reason we're referring to the Wakefield Valley because they're amending the Wakefield Valley version of the general plan. On July 18th, 2024, DP 2401 was introduced to the commission to add 25 new density rights from parcel W to construct 25 single-family detached dwelling units and dedicate parcel X to Carroll Lutheran Village for open space. On October 30th, 2024, to request the applicant, staff met with the applicant and provided an update on the proposed revision to DP 2401 to increase the 32 new density rights on parcel W while maintaining the open space for Carroll Lutheran Village on parcel X. Following that, on April 1st, 2025, the applicant provided staff another proposed revision to DP 2401 to increase the 35 new density rights to parcel W to construct 35 single-family detached dwelling units and again to dedicate parcel X for open space at Carroll Lutheran Village. So if we go back to the one prior to this, again, this is just within staff for review. They met with us with the idea of increasing density. There was a request to reduce the width of the driveways themselves. Staff and Public Works wouldn't accept reduction just for maintenance reasons and also we just don't have that standard. So with that, the applicant then revised the plan and to the next 35, presented that to staff, which on May 15th, 2025, DP 2401, as amended with 35 new density rights, was reintroduced to the commission. And then the commission subsequently requested that DP 2401 be scheduled for a public hearing. On June 9th, 2025, the applicant emailed staff an amended development plan rendering addressing the commission's I'm sorry, this is just the development.
Mr. Debo, I think that was the one that we sold.
Yeah,
Yes,
not that one, the next
The
one.
next.
Yeah, next one.
I know there have been several
Yeah,
conversions. Yeah, but this was the one that came to us before.
Yeah, the one prior to, if we go the one prior to it, when we met with the applicant, staff had concerns with the location of the housing near the Wakefield Community Center. So we have requested, potentially moving it to the north. So thank you. Then this updated one, 35 units, this is what was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission and reintroduced for the 35 units. And this is just a rendering of that same plan. The next one. And so again, on June 9th, 2025, the applicant emailed staff and amended the rendering addressing Commission's May 15th, 2025 work session comments. As you can see, 3 new lots appear in addition to the 2 lots that were previously depicted along Bell Road. They added 3 additional. Again, Planning Commission felt it, as well as staff, by moving those additional lots to Bell Road, it would widen the lot widths and lot sizes of the remaining 30 lots fronting on the internal roadway. Before there were 33, now they're down to 30. So again, it's to address Planning Commission's recommendation. They maintain the location to the northern side of the development. With that, the zoning administrator scheduled DP 2401 for public hearing for September 18, 2025. The commission's notice of public hearing for DP 2401 was advertised on September 2nd, 2025 and September 9th, 2025 in the Carroll County Times in accordance with zoning ordinance section 164, 185A. The public hearing, however, advertisement stated the application number, date, time, and place of the hearing, and the summary of the amendments and the location of the property, its area, name of owner, and change of classification. However, the advertisement incorrectly refers to the property's parcel W and X being zone PD4 Plan Development 4 zone, where the property is zoned C Conservation Zone. The referencing of PD4 zone was simply an oversight, is not substantive to the requested DP 2401 application, does not impact the advertisement of DP 2401 public hearing, again allowing the September 8th, 2025 public hearing to occur. We did discuss this with the city attorney, and in the staff report, which has been amended, staff points out reasons as to why.
Yeah, this is a very peculiar property, the overall Wakefield Avondale area, because when it was first planned and developed, there was no zoning in the city. So there was a master development plan put in place, and then zoning came a year later. And it put zoning categories on the land, but the code provided that the original development plan would control. So theoretically, that land could be zoned industrial, and this would still be as legal as being its own conservation. And over the years, it's constantly changed and revised, but that basic plan has always had legal effect.
The underlying zone is irrelevant, and that's also in the zone ordinance as well. The planning is, there's no request to reclassify or rezone the property. It'll remain C conservation, but the development plan for the ordinance can allow greater density or change of use on that property because the general plan itself rules. And additionally, the PD4 provides substantially more dwelling units than what is being proposed. There is no potential to argue that we misrepresented the amount of density that could be allowed or is being requested. Following the public hearing, the commission shall submit a report and recommendation to the zoning administrator as to whether the commission favorably or unfavorably forwards the plan development plan application to the mayor and common council. And with that, staff recommends that Planning and Zoning Commission review Wakefield Valley Development Plan Amendment DP 2401, parcel W and parcel X, and provide a recommendation to forward DP 2401 to the mayor and common council, subject to the following conditions. One, to provide the amount of open space for the Wakefield Valley portion of the general development plan on DP 2401. Compliant to the landscape manual of the city of Westminster. Additional landscaping may be required as DP 2401 proceeds through the development plan amendment and preliminary subdivision process if applicable or required by the commission. Compliance with the off-street parking requirements of the zoning ordinance. Compliance with 2016 development design preferences and architectural standards outlined in the DP 2401 public hearing staff report. Additional design preferences and architectural standards may be required as DP 2401 proceeds through the development plan amendments and preliminary subdivision process if applicable or required by the commission. 5, demonstrate that water remains available per the memorandum of understanding between the city and Richard Crest dated June 2nd, 2014, and amended May 1st, 2015, and August 15, 2017, for the development of DP 2401. 6, no additional water shall be provided by the city of Westminster for DP 2401. And 7, address all remaining city of Westminster comments. And that completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions on the information of Mr. Depot?
I guess I have one, Mr. Debo, having reviewed been a lot of versions of the development plan over the years. And with different density rates tied to that. Now we're just making, as a planning and zoning commission, we're just making a recommendation to the mayor and common council. They're the ones that get to make the decision. But those density numbers have changed over the various different development plans. So is that flexible as far as every time that you go to update the plan that you could increase or decrease the density? Is that how that works?
It certainly can. Again, the development plan, as we mentioned, the underlying zone is irrelevant. It's really up to the mayor and common council as to how they want to allow density or at this development. To go back to the original plan, there used to be a commercial section that was originally approved, and that disappeared over time and became more residential. The density has consistently fluctuated, typically downward through the amendments we've had. Open space has fluctuated, increased, and then decreased. At the end of the day, this amendment is still less dense than, will be less dense than what was originally approved with the original general plan.
In 1978.
1978.
But in theory, I just want to make sure I understand this. I haven't run across this particular scenario before in all my planning and zoning experience. The mayor and common council has the ability to amend what the number of density units every time it opens back up the plan.
Yes, I would say yes, yeah.
Okay, just curious about that. Okay. Not that you don't consider all the factors that go along with that, compatibility, all that, but I just wanted to double check that you're not technically tied to whatever you said in 1978 or whatever other amendments you've done. You have the flexibility to look at it at the time when you open it back up.
Yeah, well, I caution both planning commission, mayor, and common council that the only review that we've had or discussed and has been introduced is these two parcels. I'd be hesitant to say that going to a separate section and trying to alter density, I don't think that would be allowed. Because that's not what's before you. I would question whether it would be allowed.
It's already developed in this portion that it was.
Exactly, and that has been introduced. Staff has not done any research into the remaining sections, impacts that may happen within those sections if density was to alter. If you decrease density from what's existing, then provide some type of non-conformity issue. So I would think as introduced, we're looking at parcel subunit X only, and these are the two parcels where I do agree that you could provide whatever densities you feel acceptable for these two parcels.
But really, these two parcels, really the one parcel that's gonna be developed, because the other one's open space. There's only one other parcel over by the main entrance road going down to the old golf clubhouse has actually not been developed. All the other properties have approved plans and have been built upon.
Mhm.
Like, for example, the golf course, you couldn't come in and decide you're gonna build on that because that's part of the open space requirements going back to the original plan. So there's some things kind of locked in.
Okay,
But you kind of asked the question that I was gonna ask is, at the end of the day, when you make this change, are we still under the original number of units that were approved? And I think the answer is yes.
Yes, we're under the number of units and density.
So whether it was 25 or 35 or 15 or 40, we would still be underneath that.
Exactly, exactly.
That's-
20, yeah. The 25 originally proposed, the 45 being proposed is still under the original approval. But not,
so just one other question. So there is a long drawn out history with this property, which I've tried to digest the best I can. Though I don't, it probably take me days to thoroughly understand all the background. But at one point, I believe, Marty Hill was he proposing what he was proposing on this parcel W? Was that,
parcel W originally,
Yes.
it was,
Bigger.
it was a lot.
but parcel W was part of.
It was part of both.
Yes.
I think parcel X, my understanding was always intended to be open space dedicated to Carrollton Village through some understanding.
That was only been since
That was in the memorandum of understanding.
That was one
Richard
of the
was taken.
2005.
the Carrollton Village at the time, as I recall, opposed that plan because that parcel X
Yes.
wasn't going to them. And it would have been abutting their property with this development. I think that's one of the issues that came up at the time.
The 2005 proposal that was done, included both those parcels and then some further down, even past parcel.
Okay.
The part we're talking to Carroll.
So one of the most recent one, the one that was not approved, that proposed parcel X to be dedicated and parcel W to have 53 to 55, I think 53 units.
The one in
Well, that was
2000,
our proposal.
Yeah,
that had 53 units and it had a parcel being dedicated to Carroll.
and it encompassed the entire parcel W, both northern and southern sections, where this one we're looking at solely developing the southern.
That was the one that was denied in 2016, if I remember correctly, from reading all the various district.
Yes.
Guys.
There's an MOU for it that was envisioned 70 on these parcels, so again, it's still quite a decrease from what was possibly originally envisioned from to 2016 now to today.
So, I mean, if this Wakefield plan is screwed up, you have to blame the little bit, because I've been messing with it for so many years now I was here. And it constantly morphed and evolved to what it is today, but it's almost done finally.
So it's the other piece that leads to, that we're not here about tonight, but the one that leads to, well, that was part of the original Wakefield plan as well. That's correct. Okay.
Parcel F1, I think 21 development rights.
If you go back to the original plan, there's a report that goes with it, it'll say parcel F1, this density, sometimes it's a range, and each parcel has a density assigned to it. And we were well below that, because in most cases, for example, Michael Oakes built, I think it's called parcel H, originally was some range of 167 to over 200 and some units. He came in and said, I only want to build 55 upscale houses. The rest of the unit density I don't care about. And that's what he did.
The staff report tries to highlight the changes, but really stays with density and open space. And it is provided as an exhibit or attachment 5 is the 1978 plan. All these revisions are
Right.
in the attachments. So you can see how it grows and exactly the tables have changed, densities have altered and shifted and moved actually.
But it is for someone like me who has not been involved in this all these many years, it's a little convoluted and
It is.
complicated.
It is,
It's so different.
it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Miller, for helping catch me up when it was first submitted.
I came to work for the city in 1978, and one of the very first projects was a revision to this plan. I had to pull 3 folders out about this thick to try to understand what the heck was going on. So your feeling is just about the way I felt almost 50 years ago. Enough said. All right, any further questions? Okay, I'm gonna go to the list. I don't know, Ms. Miller, if you wanna kind of
Yes,
orchestrate this.
yes,
Okay, I'm gonna
that was our plan, so we have our
You're
team
last
here
on the
with us,
list,
so
but
I
I'm
will
making first.
introduce, but I intend on just giving you a quick opening. We're gonna walk you through the elements of the code that we have to prove consistency with, through all of our, members here. And then I'll give you a quick little summation, and then if you have any additional questions, we're all here and happy to answer those for you. So Mr. Hoff has just identified this precisely, which is this is convoluted. But it is a unique situation in the city because this is the only development plan that was created prior to that November 5th, 1979 date that then it has some of these components to it. So that's why it's extra, just a bit nuanced, if you will. But first of all, I did make an exhibit packet, but I left all of my copy because I made you each a copy so you could look at it. But I'm gonna ask that you guys pass that around for now, because I left them on my copier. So that is the packet. And exhibit 3 in there is what's already included in your packet, which is a copy of that 1978 plan that has that chart that Mr. Baird was just talking about. This area that we're here for tonight is subject to that 1978 plan. If you look at that plan, page 2 of that plan says in summary kind of what Mr. Depot just said, which is that it is assumed that within this framework, some minor shifting of density may occur to account for changes in the market or other conditions which could not be anticipated at the time the general development plan was prepared. That's a sentiment that then is reiterated on page 3 of that plan as well. So it's always been contemplated that this plan is sort of an evolving document. And we've seen that in real life, right? Because the golf course no longer exists. And that plan specifically calls out the golf course use and the growth at that point in time, the anticipated growth of the golf course. So that was a 1978 plan. In November of 1979 is when the city adopted zoning. So that's when then a zoning designation was placed on all of these properties. In section 164, 133 of the code, which is what we're going to be going through tonight, that then calls this plan out and said any plan adopted before this date, we disregard the zoning and we just go with the plan that was previously adopted. So that's what Mr. Baird was referencing when he said there's no regard for the zoning classification because the code calls out any plan approved prior to that date and says in those situations, we're looking at the plan itself, not at the zoning classification. So that provision also provides for an amendment process to those plans. So that's how we're able to be here tonight requesting an amendment to the plan. Tonight here with us, we have Richard Kress, representative of the ownership of the property, Marty Hackett, who's going to be speaking to some of the land use, land design elements. Joe Rudder, who's here tonight as an expert in the area of planning, and Mike Lenhart, who's here tonight as an expert in the area of traffic engineering. And our intention is just to walk through the elements of the code, provide you a summary, and then have any sort of questions that you have answered by the relevant person that's here tonight. So with that in mind, what we're going to do right now is we're looking at section 164, 188J, and the section that then calls out the subsections that we have to show that we comply with in order to receive an approval of an amended development plan. So subsection 1 of 164, 188J reads that the zone applied for is in substantial compliance with the use and density indicated by the master plan or sector plan, and that it does not conflict with the general plan, the city's capital improvements program, or other applicable city plans and policies. Now, relevant to Mr. Hackett is going to talk us through this for the most part. But relevant to this is what's included in that packet floating around between you, exhibits 4 and 5. What we have done and what Marty will summarize for you tonight, what we've done is provided a breakdown of the density calculations from the 1978 plan compared to our proposal here tonight, as well as the same breakdown in open space to show that we are not negatively impacting either with the proposal here tonight from what was originally approved. So Marty, I'm gonna turn it over to you and I'm gonna ask you if you can walk the commission through the density and open space and water components of this.
As it stated in the 1978 plan, there are 768 density units that were originally approved. Right now, there's 549 existing densities of homes that are built today. And then between the police here, the remaining, as Mr. Barrett said earlier, there's a remaining parcel that was owned by, it's still owned by the Griswold family, the original owner of the whole area. But that, there's about 20 or 22 units, I think, are going to do on that property. I propose about 35, so as we add everything up, we're looking at obtaining up to 643 total units, yes.
I don't know that that includes Griswold.
I did not,
I think that just includes us.
it's 549 plus the 30, that'd be 5,
Well, you, 549 constructed, yes.
correct.
Okay.
All right, so, but the total plan, is coming out at 643 units. And where that is also, I think there's a little piece still of Carroll Lutheran Village that has some assigned to it from years ago, that kind of thing. But the overall density of the area in the plan was 1.6 units per acre, as an average, throughout the whole area. When this plan get approved, and as soldiers go forward to finalize and finish the plan up, the overall density for the area would be 1.24 units to the acre. So it's significantly less than what was ever planned or visioned back in 1978. We'll get right into the open space as well. The open space, we're dedicating, I think there's 16 acres of open space that we call the Carroll Lutheran Village area. That was
Parcel X.
Parcel X. And then the parcel W, the remaining from the subdivision side of it, that we're proposing, there's another 17 acres, 18 acres. Thank you. That's being done, and it's being designed that way, served as open space, but it's just a matter of ultimately who's gonna own and maintain it. Obviously, we're proposing for the city to take that as well, as they have the all tied in their whole park system and control it. Mr. Powell with Carroll.
Mr. Hagley, can you clarify that? So this open space would be turned over to the city of Westminster, is that what you're saying?
That's our proposal.
The open space that's shown on parcel W.
Yeah.
For the pocket.
Except for the pocket park, where the little oval is, that's gonna be owned and maintained by the HOA.
Which pocket park?
It's the round, I'm sorry.
You're talking
You mean
about,
that,
you're talking about,
Thank you.
That'll be maintained by the
The homeowners association.
so from the roadway up to the subdivision, you're talking about
Yeah.
that parcel.
Yeah, that's correct.
How
That's
much is that?
That comes out, it's about 18 acres.
Have you gotten any feedback from the city as far as whether they want that or not?
We would defer to Mark on that.
I'm just
Mark
asking a
had some
question.
The
conversations.
city's would be very happy to take over that open space.
The only difference with Mr. Powell not being here, they're either gonna own it, Carroll Lutheran Village.
Parcel.
The parcel X. They're either gonna own it, and either they're happy to possibly lease it for the city, or they would let the city take it over, as long as it remains open space and parkland.
Right, if I could, I'm sorry. I apologize. But there's a letter attached October 10th, 2022 from Carroll Lutheran Village that makes that reference that they expressed their desire to permit the 17 acres that we're talking about to be deeded or leased to the city as part of the approval of the development plan. So that is a letter provided by Carrollton Village, so there is that option that potentially the city could be the final owner.
So do we have
17 acres.
clarity? Well, I guess right now, what we're doing is.
That's not relevant to this, what we're here today.
Because this is because this would still end up coming back to us. As a planning commission,
That's a preliminary.
should the mayor and common council.
Yes.
Approve the amendment to the development plan, this still comes back to us as a planning commission for the final site plan.
Well,
Correct.
it would be a preliminary subdivision plan.
Yes.
And then following that would be the final plats for it. At that time, we would look at new ownership of parcel X.
I just wanna make sure, yeah, so I'm understanding, so. Today, in theory, right now, we are making a recommendation to the mayor and common council to approve sort of the density, correct? And then once they take action, assuming that they would approve the additional density, then it would still come back to the planning and zoning commission for all these various details to be ironed out as far as parcel X and how that's gonna work. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you haven't seen the last of us. If we ever,
It's a little bit of an unusual scenario here, so I would, just because I haven't been through this before, I just wanna make sure I'm understanding.
Just so you know, for that open space and parkland is to keep it maintained at open space and parkland. So, you know, I'm sorry.
It seems as if there's parcel X and then there's another 17 acres of open space. Is that what we're? Right, X is the Carroll Lutheran Village
If you want to show
open space, let's say.
So this, right,
That's 16 acres.
this is the parcel X for dedication to Carrollton Village or potentially the
Correct.
city. This is the additional acreage
Right.
that they have to.
That's 17.
dedicate.
Everything that's dark green theoretically could end up with the city,
Yes,
That's correct.
but.
And the letter from Carroll Lutheran Village was for potential they would want to donate their
Yes.
16.
Either take it and lease it or city have it as long as they didn't.
exactly.
Parcel X goes back to, at least from reading through all the things, the concept of Carroll Lutheran Village getting parcel X goes back in time to prior negotiations and such.
Yes.
And they may very well just say, no, as long as it's gonna be open space, the city can have it. We don't know what they're gonna say, but they just want it as open space and parkland. So,
There's no intent for them to develop. And this is the parking lot for the clubhouse, so you can see the proximity and benefit that it would have. If it was to be open space to the city.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when it was at one point, when there was 53 lots that was being proposed, that was denied, that up in density was denied. That was basically taking up all of parcel W, if I remember.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it was.
yes, the plan back in 1978 had 200.14 acres of open space on Wakefield Valley. It notes 31% of the total area of open space across the entirety of the plan. When we calculate based on proposal and all that, we're coming up with about 40.8% is what the open space in 1978. If you're just looking at the Wakefield acres, not Fenby. But today, and Mark, it's 223.4 acres of open space as we propose today. But I think it's just an adjustment different because of the open space from the former staff report. That's all. But just so you know, we checked it. So the resulting open space percentage is actually 43.2% of the area of the Wakefield plan.
We're talking about the whole Wakefield.
The whole Wakefield plan.
Even with this done, it's still 43%. Yes.
Yes, 43.2%. So it's still a greater percentage than what it was back in 1978.
But currently, of course, it's more because you're taking part of that, because right now this is all open space in theory. So
Correct.
So
But even with this proposal, it's still.
Out of the combination of parcel W and X, I'm curious. How much of parcel W and X in total is being developed? Is that like,
That percentage?
yeah,
Can
You-
you pull up the actual plan, the party submit, because it's in all the notes, like, I don't know if you have it. It's just,
I mean,
I'm born in.
but eyeballing is, it's actually less than that.
Like this one,
Yeah.
they have all, of them.
okay,
They have.
okay.
it's 50% or greater open space
Just like,
between those two parcels. And you're telling me the overall open space of all of the Wakefield is gonna end up at 43%.
that's correct.
And what was it supposed to be originally in the 1978 plan?
41%.
41, okay.
If you look at, exhibit 5 in there, the open space chart, I know. You're
And it's really unfortunate because we don't, it's kind of hard because you're referring to something that we don't have.
I understand,
Yeah.
Jay hopefully can pass it down, but I just wanted to note that at the bottom of that, there's a little asterisk that lays out the acreage for each open space parcel and how that final numbers is included. That Marty just poorly, but everyone.
Yep. The water allocation for the property, is one that's been around since a memorandum of understanding, occurred back in 2016, 15, that kind of thing. That was a proposal, Mr. Kress, when he bought the property, the golf course itself, was to, reappropriate a well that was originally permitted for 86,000 gallons. He bought that so he could secure his water for his Stonegate property, which is on the other side of town, and allow for up to 70 units to be proposed on the Wakefield property.
So the water is already in theory, and Mr. Depot's staff report backs that up. The water in theory is already allocated
That's correct.
for the additional density that you're proposing.
The units down at Stonegate have been fully constructed, so it was 295 reservations, which equated to about 70,000 gallons. And the other 16,000 gallons to go for the well, was basically used for the city purposes because it was donated to the city. And then now, so he still has 60 allocations left because he did, get rid of some of the allocations for some industrial water that was needed for some industrial projects over the years.
So there's 60
He's got
allocated,
60 allocations.
60 single family allocations. Because originally the memorandum of understanding talks about, in theory, 70
Correct.
besides Stonegate. Am I correct on that? And you're saying 10 of those 70 have been used for other purposes.
That's correct.
Is that matches your understanding, Mr. Debo?
Generally, that's why it's a condition. I think the development plan would be nice if we had that spelled out clear, so.
Okay.
But
future
basically, we're in the same ballpark of there's water, the water's already been allocated for these lots. Okay.
Yeah.
The tabulation chart, I think Marty did it put on the plan too, that shows the uses that absorbed those 10 units worth. That's what those amended MOUs were about, was allowing the transfer to occur to certain other development projects.
So there were two amendments. to
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So.
Well, now we're gonna switch gears, and Joe Rudder is gonna speak to you about the conformity with the master plan and the location of this property within the priority funding area. Take it away, Joe.
You guys have tremendous knowledge of the history of this property, so I'm gonna be very quick. One of the.
Sir, could you speak up a little bit? I'm a little bit, I have hearing aids, a little hard to hearing, and it's a little bit hard for me to.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. So.
Yeah, I'm good with reading lips as well, so that helps.
Joe Rudder, working on this project and really to adjust the general plan issues. Looked at the 1978 plan, 2009 plan, of course, all the history of this property. As you were just discussing, the 60 allocations of public water In the 2009 general plan, it recognizes that there's a limited amount of water supply in the county and it recommends those allocations be used. So this plan is in the priority funding area by definition, state smart growth legislation, because it's in the incorporated city. It's also in tier one, which is the primary area for development because it has access to public water and sewer. The 2009 master plan, I'll just jump into that. It addresses municipal growth. It notes that the current capacity and projected growth would result in build out by 2024. This is in 2009. We were looking at what was available to develop in the city, and that's all that happened by 2024. Kept pace the growth targets that we developed out about now. Even with the annexable areas adjoining the city, the plan calls for looking inside of the city boundaries for other opportunities for development. Chapter 5 in the land use vision, it says in order to accommodate the projected population growth for the next 20 years, should take 2029, Westminster will need to increase the housing unit capacity of the city by at least 648 dwelling units. This will require the city of Westminster to look inside its boundaries for opportunities to develop housing units, making vacant land precious resource as the amount of vacant land continues to decrease and the need for housing units increases, promoting creative mixed use, infill, or redevelopment of unconventional parcels becomes a priority. I think the other thing to real clear from the earlier discussions, you guys already have this. The 1978 on page 81 of the 2009 plan, it calls out this specific property. It says, for the record, the 1978 development of the Wakefield Valley restricted the development of housing within the parcel where Wakefield Valley Golf Course Conference Center exists today. However, current land use is low density residential, even though the development plan will not allow any residential homes to be built in this area. The Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the land use change from low density residential to conservation to reflect the development plan and the existing land. Recognize no development potential because of the golf course. The existing land use for this parcel is the Wakefield Valley Golf Course and Conference Center surrounded by forest land, natural landscapes, as well as stream that runs from the southwest corner to the eastern portion of the parcel. This change reflects how the land is currently used, 2009. However, this change does not change the approved development plan for Wakefield Valley, which is where the density and all comes from. The 2009 comprehensive land use plan map has redesignated the land use for 240 acres parcel from low density to conservation. Then on page 92 in chapter 6, it addresses the protection of environmental resources and it goes through all of the details of which you just discussed. Great knowledge of the property, how we concentrated higher up and avoided the stream valley with this the following problem. Any questions?
I do have a question. This might be better for Mr. Hackett. What is the average size of the lots that you're proposing?
Well, they're between 1/3 and 1/2 acre, and some of them are greater than that.
1/3 and 1/2 acre.
Correct.
Mr. Hackett, how does that compare to some of the other single family lots that are already in the Wakefield development? I'm sure there's a various different
Generally,
sizes.
they're larger.
Mine's a half acre.
But some, you have some plans that, a couple of plans are 1/2 acre, you have some townhomes down in.
I'm not talking about the townhome, for the single family lots, What are the various sizes that are within the Wakefield development plan?
They're probably, they're anywhere between probably a quarter and a half. But there may be some lots smaller than that, but probably between a quarter acre and a half.
So typically the ones that already are in the Wakefield plan that have been developed that are single family are between a quarter and a half. And you're telling me these lots on average that you're losing between a third and a half, is that
That's
correct? Thank you.
Mr. Hope just took my next question for you, Marty, so we just moved ahead. No, it's okay. We're checking it off.
Thinking about compatibility.
Thank you. So that, what Marty just spoke to kind of speaks to subsection 2 of the code that we're gonna get into now, which is that the proposed development would comply with the purposes, standards, and regulations of the zone as set forth in the code and provide for the maximum safety, convenience, and amenity of the residents of the development and would be compatible with adjacent development. So Marty just kind of talked about the sort of varying lot size in this area, but in terms of zoning, Marty, can you explain? I mean, we are, the parcel that we're here for today is zoned conservation, but the existing residential development that Mr. Hoff was just speaking to is zoned residential, is it not?
That's correct.
And what is that zoning designation of most of that?
It does vary some. There's some R10 and there's some R20.
And
Wait, or you're talking the R10 and the R20 and other parts of Wakefield?
That's correct.
Yeah, because this zoning here is actually
this is conservation.
conservation.
Most of what you see for the existing lots out there, those are residentially zoned. They were not.
This
they're
is a
not-
little bit confusing
Yes.
because of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but the existing development plan controls as much or more than the underlying zoning.
Yes,
Though, when you're making a decision, you consider the underlying zoning from looking at the past history of the property. Okay.
well, and even though I guess some of that lower residential wasn't necessarily governed by its zoning classification, it has, based on the area description that Marty just provided in terms of the square footage of those lots, they have kind of developed in that general scheme of the R10 to R20, what you would expect for that zoning class.
So prior to 2009, this particular parcel was designated as low density residential, correct?
Yes.
I do know that the density prior to the change in.
No land use, that's an only
Yeah,
density.
yeah.
I'm talking about the land, the future land use
The land
was
use.
low density residential. It was changed to conservation because it was actively used as a golf course.
Right, and the zoning of it though, the zoning was R20. In that whole area, except for some area where the townhomes are down there, Fairleigh Village.
Back in 2009,
Yeah, even the golf course was on R20, which is that equates to low density or medium density?
If you go to the zoning map, you'll see our.
Let's get more to the medium, when it, for Westminster, yes, medium.
Medium. So it was zoned R20. For instance, and it's obviously the surrounding area, like I said, where there was townhouse and there's some development where that occurred probably back in the early 80s where there's the housing, or there's some split four-year houses down there and all that. But that was more of a townhouse and single family project. And that was zoned R10,000, I'm fairly certain. And then like Mr. Barrett said before, there was a portion of the property that was along Homa Farm Road was zoned commercial, going out toward 31, I believe.
Right on the corner of 31
Yes,
and still there.
it's zoned, the commercial zone, that's not commercial anymore there, right?
This is,
There was a piece of that,
it was 10 acres.
it was 10, yeah, correct.
and that got changed.
That got changed from commercial to residential.
Yeah, if you go into the adjacent residential development, there's a roadway that comes down and a culvert was constructed. And eventually, that roadway was to be extended down to Fairleigh Farm Road. And then that would be 10 acres of commercial. That was the plan for a long time. Always got a lot of opposition. That was the plan.
You're talking about the part that's open space now?
What's that?
Yeah, this is a different part.
This is
Kevin, I'm
actually-
sorry.
Okay, I'm lost.
No, again, I'm talking about the over, it's a very confusing thing, Kevin.
I had a bigger map I could show you.
Never mind.
The original map. It's 10 acres, yeah.
Okay.
Right, as you actually could see it from Route 31, right on the corner. Like, right on the corner of Bentley Farm Road and 31.
Tom is speaking in reference to the overall plan, because it's a little confusing. Because we're really here just about parcel W and X. This is part of the overall plan, we just wandered into talking about the overall plan.
That's it. That's
It's bigger now, but
that's the Home Farm Road there, the corner there.
yeah, but this is actually,
That still exists, and
this
there's a,
takes into account Avondale also, which is not.
that area you're just pointed to, it still exists, so the guy farms it.
It's farmed now.
Yeah. But I know it's still commercial, didn't realize it is.
I thought so too. That's not that big.
Yes.
So, yeah, the average is right there, so it's a half a, very compatible with the area. But the houses adjacent that are still in the county, they're on private well and septic, and they basically have to be an acre.
Even the house is along Bell Road, yeah.
There's like, I think 4 or 5 of them that are sort of adjacent to this area. We're trying to keep, as natural as we can. We have a 30 or 50 foot swath of land. It's actually open space, that's preserved there.
It looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the upper part of the development that's along the back of those lots. It looks like the grade kind of goes down, right? So you actually are sitting lower.
Yes,
By the time you do the mass grading for the development, these houses are already sitting lower than those houses. Am I correct?
the difference in elevation is approximately 50 feet.
Oh, wow.
From people's backyards up near the house down to where the existing fairway used to be. There's about 50 feet of elevation change there.
So those houses along the new road are gonna be sitting lower than what's up on top.
That's correct.
Okay.
A lot lower.
And Marty, the plan that's being proposed here, this amended development plan, provides pedestrian connectivity as well from the proposed residential into the boulevard. Can you explain that a bit?
Our proposal, takes the existing car paths alignment and utilizes those, and connects our pocket park to the public area. It connects the pocket of it puts, proposing new pathways in the areas where we would come off the existing pathways. As we go into parcel X, we're proposing a.
Because you're gonna be constructing those, whether you grant them to the city eventually or whatever. But there's sidewalks along all the streets.
That's
right?
correct.
And then I noticed that the plan calls for the plan that's on the table right now. I know it's gonna come back to us in theory as a site plan at some point.
Yes.
But you have different connections to some of the existing trails that you're gonna tie into, improve and all that.
That's correct.
And so, for instance, if I, average everyday citizen, was visiting Wakefield Valley Park, no one's gonna shoot me if I walk up and go onto the sidewalks into that neighborhood. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, it will provide additional connection and additional trails.
It's not gonna be like a little gate there or anything like that. It's
The
all gonna
only-
be integrated
the
and tied
only
in.
gate considered, which we can't speak on behalf of Carroll Lutheran Village, would be from the park to the private Carroll Lutheran Village side, such that people could not get into Carroll Lutheran Village from the public.
But you're talking about parcel X.
Correct.
But where parcel X hits their existing site, not
Right, not
from
at the.
W to X. We're
Exactly.
talking about from X to the site.
Yes.
Your site.
So the connection, what's happening was we're shifting the development over, keeping it away from the existing parking area and the venue, which is really looking nice, by the way. That's all gonna be basically preserve it. We're not grading any of that area. We're grading to a minimum. We gotta meet road design criteria, grading criteria, and stuff. And we can basically, what's on the light green is gonna be pretty much our area disturbance, except for when we work out the stormwater management area. Right now, there's an existing easement that's on the city park property that was planned for. But now that we shifted everything over, that facility may shift a little further toward this community when we get into the final design phase, which is gonna, and we're flexible. We certainly build it where it was proposed. But, if we want, we could amend that easement and put it. But if it's all going to the city, it doesn't matter because the stormwater management ends up going to the city ultimately anyway. But what you see there, so the dark green areas, and I actually took some photographs.
They're gonna be pretty much as they are, if that would do
If you
you.
notice them, and we can.
Mr. Hackett, also, can I ask you a question while so the light green areas, the lots that are north of the main road, those are gonna be sitting higher than the ones that are south, is that correct? The way the grading is gonna work?
From the entrance road into the city or into the community is going to descend. It's going to go from Bell Road, it's going to drop down.
Drop down, and the houses on the north are gonna be a little bit higher than the ones on the south, or they'd be pretty consistent,
They're going to be pretty consistent.
but the yards will kind of.
Yes, they'll follow each other, but the ones on the low side of the road, which is up against the existing trees that we're preserving, which is very dense and steep. That area, those will be your walkout houses.
So we'll get walk out on that side.
That's correct. And wherever else we can get them.
Okay.
But if, yeah, my hip, this was actually on Fenby Farm Road, the entrance road to the, golf course. And, you'll see that those mature trees, all that stays. Looking in between a couple of the trees along that roadway, you'll see there's a I went out there this morning and had an opportunity to do this because I wanted to see how it was recently. And there are some large trees on that property and it just, again, that's just looking in between a couple of those trees that are along that roadway. And just over there by about probably, 50 yards or whatever.
So all of that existing screening is all staying in place?
It all stays in place. Yeah, there's a tee box, an old tee box I remember when I used to play. The elevation is up probably, it almost creates a natural berm from the parking lot. If you go into the parking lot, actually closest to the park area or to the old golf course, you'll see the tee box elevated. And it's over 10 feet high, maybe 15 feet tall. Because you had to walk up the hill to get to the tee box. But anyway, that area is untouched.
The existing stormwater management easement that's on the property, is that gonna actually become like a pond or something like that?
Yeah,
It will be.
That's what it was planned for.
Okay, so there will be some kind of facility there.
Well, we're right there next to the park, as you can see.
Yeah,
If we can pull it up some toward the community, we could do that.
gotcha.
And we'll just go ahead, because if everything's going to the city ultimately, there's no, and the pond would go to the city, then.
So potentially you put that higher up than where the easement actually is.
Correct.
Okay, because with the design of the parcel right now, you could put it on parcel W.
That's correct.
Understand, yeah.
Since we pulled that up, so that,
And in some ways that would make things easier because then you're not keep on running the pipe. Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah.
And we would just, and so you may find it might be half on and half off of where it's shown right there, but if everything's going to the city ultimately, then again, it doesn't. I looked at, and again, or my printer, but you can you can see. I took a picture back from the parking lot so you can see more of it, and you can see how the parking lot sits down. And it creates, like I said, a sort of a natural berm and buffer, and all that vegetation, I mean.
Everything that I see there vegetation wise all staying, that's not being.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Marty, in addition to the existing screening and such, as this plan, if this plan is granted approval by council and comes back to this commission for a subdivision process, it would also have to comply with the landscaping requirements as well,
Oh,
correct?
yes, absolutely, correct.
Are you good if I keep going?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me ask one
I know
more
you-
question while you're on.
Sure.
I was looking at this drawing here. So basically off of Bell Road, it's gonna kind of just gradually downhill all the way to this circle part.
Yes.
And from this way, it's also pretty much everything's just gonna fall all the way from top to bottom, because it's all.
From here to the houses, these houses sit up about.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. But I mean, when you get here though, it's still gonna keep sloping.
It does.
I mean, it's not gonna be flat. This road's not gonna be.
I'm gonna ask, what is it, what's
Like,
the,
it's like lot 7 versus 24. It's gonna change.
Obviously.
What's the slope from the road?
These will get a little lower.
Yeah,
Then the grade, we're gonna obviously lose some grade with the walkout.
yeah.
Tony, do you know the grade of the road as far as steepness?
We're gonna have obviously the landing grade coming off the Bell Road, and then it's gonna go down to about 8%. We think it's gonna be right around there, and it's gonna go down around the curve, and then it starts flattening out a little bit, because we're running parallel contours in that case. And, I think actually what happens is we actually are pulling the water back from where you see it, the left side, the last houses adjacent to the parcel J. We're gonna pull the water back a little bit toward the intersection of Loop Road and sort it down to sort of convey everything, for the stormwater management, for the storm drain system. We also, when we looked at, we put the lots up along Bell Road, and we actually have a drive that's gonna come in the rear of those lots. So we try to keep the streetscape consistent. We thought that worked well. One, the site distance is better in the location where we have the public road. And two, we felt that as you're driving down the road, the streetscape maintains a lot with the houses facing, obviously, Bell Road instead of, and as you're driving down there, you're not actually looking at the rear of the house.
So what was the thought process in, the two lots, like lot 35 and 31 are still coming off the public road and not that additional road? Did you give thoughts about those two lots coming off of there, or what was the thought process? Just out of curiosity.
Which, uh,
35 and 31 look like they're coming directly off the public road instead of coming off of that kind of joint use and maintenance.
just to lower the usage of the drive,
Okay.
because that drive would end up being a private drive.
That'll end up being a private drive, so it'll be shared by those three houses, 32, 33, 44.
And the other thing is the way we want to orient the houses on the corners, we made those lots so we can angle them to sort of, not just straight. And originally we talked about
We talked about that the last meeting, yeah.
Just want to say one thing about the stormwater, with all the effort made to preserve trees and have it aesthetically pleasing, it's really important that stormwater management pond not end up in eyesore. You understand what I'm saying? Because that would be a terrible tragedy.
And of course, the landscape requirements also, we end up having to do some screening and all that stuff, but I understand what you're talking about.
Do you have any idea what it would be, a pond or some kind of infiltration of what?
It's not gonna be a wet pond, you just can't get them approved. They're very difficult. It'll be dry. I prefer to have the good old wet pond myself. I think they're more attractive, but you can't, it's very difficult, they're gonna, it'll have,
But I was gonna say, you had some ponds right behind the development.
the golf course,
The golf course then.
and back in the eighties, you could do that a lot easier. But, these are gonna have bio retention facilities, they're gonna, and they're basically, they're very shallow areas, but they'll be landscaped more aquatic things, so they're basically wet for what's designed to do about 24 hours. All the quantity facilities when you go into larger, the one we preserve the easement. So.
Jump to traffic unless.
That's fine, yeah.
Oh, let me say.
Okay.
Your comment about the trails. 40 minutes ahead of time was good because that is a problem in the old Wakefield neighborhoods. Now if the golf course is there, you kind of have to ask permission of your neighbor.
Exactly.
To walk down. You gotta find a friendly neighbor that doesn't mind a lot of people walking through and it's very difficult to have it in.
Yeah, we got a couple infield strips that are going out.
Yeah, I think that was good. That's what I'm saying.
There's an existing.
Yeah.
There's an
I guess
existing.
up here, you just let them figure out using it.
Yeah, you can sit there and try to tie the pathway in there.
That would probably be
That kind
smart.
of thing.
Rather than go away.
We can sit there and maybe put a turnaround or something. But we're
I was
certainly looking
right.
at trying to feel less of those new pathways. I mean, to the existing pathways from the parks. And we did not, we not in the community, this, not saying that here, but that road is, it was that sidewalk there, that side. Yeah. I do have another question, but again, this is back to the site plan. On lot 28 that you showed, so far down, they want, is it a read? That is what is steadily not that kind of. And as you go back, you get to the well, it sits down further than what 27 says. It just goes on. And you just said on the concepts are all the same. So it's the style. I just I noticed that it just struck me just with the way. Like a lot of times you don't necessarily let everything right on that. It seems like, that's just one comment. Again, just comes back. So that obviously so that for mission. I think that's for sure. Subsection 3 of the section of the start the proposed unit the extreme circulation systems. Efficiency. I'm arguing this to one of the testing limits. So I'm going to ask my to introduce himself and to walk us through a summary of the system the company established. Good evening. I've done work with my heart track consultant. We did conduct impact study for this. We include 8 intersections in the study. If you go from Delaware to the north of the Uniontown, we looked at Delaware Uniontown, one east to Uniontown at the Home Farm Road, further east to Uniontown, 31, and then we go north on there up to 140. That intersection. We go from Delaware to site access to the south. We looked at Bell and Adamsville, and then heading out. Adams Mills, I think 52, we looked at that intersection, and then over 31, and then 52. That's a pretty extensive road that does study intersections. This site only generates we looked at it 35 dead units. It generates a total of 29 trips in the peak hour, 37 trips in the median peak hour that daily generates for a traffic impact study. That we did do a full traffic impact study that's consistent with
the town often refers to, I'm sorry, yes, this is the question, it is from 2022. Oh, it's 25 months. So is this updated at some point? This study was dated July 8th of 2025. And then it's for further, wait, did you have that? I think that was the one that's maybe at least was in the line, I said, listen, 2022. We had the one that was provided. Okay, the one that was in the package was for the 2022, so that was fine with that. Okay, so. Okay, that was. What is my view, Stan? That since then updated, I imagine is that it's different. It was just a sign, that's a very big, but they still have something that the sign. So they're really complete the first. Do you have a 2025? Yeah, I don't have that. Yeah, that's not it, actually. That's not gonna go that way. Yeah, that's okay, anytime. So we conducted traffic counts in the spring of 2024. We updated the study using, we looked at, noise and background traffic. So, looking at 10-year historical growth rates on roads, rates are actually around 1% per year. We use 3% per year to help establish background traffic values. We also included the Bristol subdivision, which is across the street on Bell. And then then 35 dwelling units that generates $20 in the morning through Bell. To the bag, that's about one vehicle every 2 minutes. 37 trips in the evening peak hour, little more than the 2 minutes. All of the study intersections populated at a level sort of B or better, which is that's the threshold B is acceptable. Most of them are A, B, or C. One intersection is a D in the morning. Another one is a D in the evening, and then just over the C D threshold. So they're good level of service. That's the required thresholds. In the traffic study, into that is going to eventually be developed otherwise, or step myself, or that is the one that is the okay, yeah, and so I mean that basically summarizes the step that look and all of the exceptions that pass. And I'm going to question this. The study was it based on just that's right. So when we do the traffic impact studies and we project traffic from a subdivision, the Institute for Transportation Engineers has a trip generation manual. It's a nationally recognized manual used by all jurisdictions. And it has hundreds of land uses in it where they will go out to single family neighborhoods, as an example. They have hundreds of traffic studies just in single family neighborhoods. So based on actual existing data, they can come up with trip generation rates that we can project how many traffic that should be generated. And that's, yes, most homes have 2 cars and it's 3 cars, and they don't need all at all at the same time. And that's what the data shows. And it's just going to be shows. So I don't. So it's not you mentioned the intersections that are level service team. Which ones are they? Then 140 is order 1 level service team. All of the other intersections in the morning are A, B, or C. In the evening, Uniontown at Rodenville. And it's the stop and turn movement at that intersection. Operates it out instead of the everything else in the evening is this, maybe it's. So let me ask you this, the people that are coming out of this subdivision on development, they should not in theory have much trouble getting, they not have to wait for that to depend on what's going on. But that road is not a severely congested road. I mean, well, just after that note, the thing is your right on movement, that and you move down. Because that's usually moving to make it lots, therefore, those put out the traffic's heading that. That's right, and we were referring to the site access on Bell. Yeah, the site access on Bell. That operates at a level of service A, and A is 10 seconds of delay or less. So you pull up to the stop sign on average, some might wait 15 seconds, some might wait 5, on average it's 10. So when this is built, and I'm coming out of that subdivision on the Bell Road, I'm not gonna have much of an issue turning right or left at the Bell Road. I would imagine a lot of trucks probably going right. Yeah, that's but so it's not gonna be much of an issue putting out. And Mr. Hagan, is there pretty good sight distance along that? Yes, both ways, that's correct. What is the sight distance? No, it's up your head. Not which one spot. That's it. I'm saying that. It's all about pushing speed. That's not obviously. That's just about 40 miles. That's 50 miles. That's 55. So it's as you don't do it. You know that. This is for that. If you don't have a speed setting, you got to use 10 miles of speed in the foot instead of just 2 miles. So it's a better stop. So it factors that. And I spoke, I was talking about that intersection that you said, was that the intersection with the police. That you the not only traffic that already there, so the best that most likely. So when these people that we need this subdivision, they go out the bell, they're more likely to trip that. I think so. And if I've been in town, if they're not, you went to those two live, you have to go down to 31 now. Yeah. So those people that are probably that's restless, that's what I felt. So the 2 intersections in level D are updating level D today. So the trips that are added to that,
They're not causing the level D. Is it existing as D today?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. It's there. 140 Royer is a C today. Uniontown Royer. Well, the numbers that I gave you, the levels of service are based on highway capacity manual. There's 2 different methodologies. One is much more detailed. That's highway capacity manual. The other is critical lane volume. We did existing background total for critical lane. That's more of a planning analysis. We only did highway capacity for the total. So I don't have an apples to apples for the existing, but under using critical lane, Uniontown and Royal is Royer is an A in the morning, A existing, A total. I don't think the stop controlled movements in an A existing, but I would guess maybe a C to existing.
Thank you.
Are we following?
No, I'm not. So
Like, which methodology
So there's
does the county prescribe to provide in the traffic study?
The county's design,
HLB?
the county's design manual says that it shall be based on critical lane volume, but the scoping agreements that they put out, they require HCM. So
That's a nuanced question.
Yeah.
Like the critical lane volume.
everything passes.
Okay.
So my question is, this subdivision isn't reducing the level of service at any intersection?
No.
Based on what the level of service is today, right?
No, it's a minor impact, really, small amount of traffic.
The golf course, when it was functioning with 27 holes, throughout the summertime when they're doing, obviously that had major impacts at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, much more than what this, but anyway.
We are jumping to subsection 4, which is our second to last subsection of the code that we are talking about. And that reads that by its design, by minimizing grading and by other means, the proposed development would tend to prevent erosion of the soil and to preserve natural vegetation and other natural features of the site. Now, Marty, I think that you spoke to a lot of this already in your testimony, so if you could just generally give a brief
Yeah, as I said,
reminder of that.
We're going to design, we have to design based on the criteria for road design, grading codes and everything else. But we try to set that up to minimize any of the impacts. But we definitely have to meet all the ordinances.
And part of the lot layout that we're showing here is such that it is preserving as much as we can while providing reasonable size lots, which will also limit the amount of disturbance necessary.
That's correct.
Now, subsection 5 of the code says that any proposals, including restrictions, agreements, or other documents which show the ownership and method of ensuring perpetual maintenance of those areas, if any, that are intended to be used for recreational or other common or quasi-public purposes are adequate and sufficient. So for the proposed plan that's before us today, the proposal is that the pocket park in the middle of that, the sort of roadway circle-ish shape, will be controlled by the HOA, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but then there will be a large buffer between the proposed development and the restored clubhouse.
That's correct.
And the intent is for that to remain passive park and be dedicated to the city.
That's correct.
Okay. And same, we've already talked about the Carroll Lutheran Village piece, that the intent, no matter who owns it, and the commitment upon the parts of everyone is that it will maintain a passive park and be used for, or in conjunction with the existing trail network, the city's park, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, the road shown on the plan, but for, as you've identified, the one private sort of shared driveway, the road will be a public city road, correct?
That's correct.
And that will be dedicated to the city through the normal subdivision process.
That's correct.
As it would occur in any
Yes.
other plan. Okay. That concludes our summation of this.
Is that item 6?
There is item 6. I'm gonna address that.
Oh, okay,
Because
okay.
item 6 reads
Fine.
that the submitted development plan is in accord with all the statutory requirements. So I'm here to tell you that because we meet all of the other statutory requirements that we've just walked you through, and because this plan would still go through any subdivision plan process, all of those elements will have to be met if they are not met today. Pursuant to, and just as a quick summary, because we've talked about a lot of different details today, but I think some of the big points to focus on are the density, the open space, right? And so if we are looking at the density as it was in the 1978 plan and the density that's being proposed now, in the 1978 plan, it was identified that there were 1.6 units per acre density. With this proposed plan, there would be 1.24 units per acre. The open space is also not decreasing from the original plan of 78. The original plan of 78 identified about 41% of open space. With this plan, we're providing 43.2% of open space. So if we are looking to the section of the code that sort of governs how we look at the Wakefield development plan, it specifically says that there could not be an increase in gross allowable density beyond what was originally approved. And so if you look at those numbers, we are not requesting an increase in density. In fact, the density is decreasing from what was originally approved over this plan. So both density and open space are, I guess you could consider them both improving, if you would. The water is adequate, and I'm kind of addressing some of the staff report's recommendations, or what, I forget exactly what you called them, but the ones you summarize at the end of your staff report. So the water needed for this is adequate because Mr. Kress already controls the necessary water. So there's no new water that would be necessary for this development. There's no water allocation that would be necessary for this development. The water exists today, actually exists in excess of what would be needed to provide for 35 units. So that would not be taxing on the city's water system. And as we've said several times tonight, if this plan is approved by the mayor and common council, it would still need to return for a full subdivision plan review as well as staff review of the subdivision plan. So I think that will be the appropriate time. That is when you will do and staff will do a detailed review to determine compliance with the landscaping manual, the design preference manual, the parking requirements. All of those subdivision specific elements will have to be in conformance with the requirements, and will come back to this commission for review and hopeful approval at some point in the future. So we are here tonight asking that you forward on a favorable recommendation to the planning commission, showing that we have met or are consistent with the elements of 164, 188J that we've talked you through tonight. We are all here and still available if there are any additional questions related to the plan. But it was our goal tonight to sort of walk you through those elements and explain why this plan complies with each of those code requirements. Thank you.
So Richard, you're on the list. You didn't say anything?
Richard, pass the torch to me.
That's okay. I don't want to. I just want to make sure I know how to know what.
This has been an arduous thing that we've done. But we were working with Tom.
That's just giving thought, you know.
Yeah, 20 some years ago, when we got the Stonegate property under approval. And then unfortunately, as a lot of you know, the city was having real water problems. And so we were trying to drill on our property to see if we could come up with enough water, and we couldn't. And our water hydrologist at the time says, you know what you should do? You should buy Wakefield Valley Golf Course. I looked at him like he was completely nuts. I said, well, we're going to buy a whole golf course to get our water, which was at the time was within the water appropriation area for Westminster. Of course, Westminster ran out of had such problems with water to do it. So he said, we've got to do it. So just so you have the background, so Wakefield Valley was being closed upon. And our water hydrologist said, you know, you should really buy that golf course. I said, to buy the golf course to get the water that I was supposed to be getting anyway. He says, no, unless the city comes up with some other ways of getting water, you're not going to be able to develop that property. Of course, we had it under contract for basically almost 20 years till we could get it going. So
God bless Martin.
So when the property was being foreclosed by the bank, the golf course. We took a big gamble and bought it, right? And then we had all the water that would really help the city a lot, right? And then we looked at it and at the time, golf wasn't doing well enough. So we didn't want to, run it. We went ahead and had a lot of studies done, see if we could continue the golf course and make it profitable. And all the different companies said, no, it really isn't going to do well enough to do it. So then we decided that we would donate the land to the city, to get this, approved. And at the time, we thought maybe we had talked about getting 70 some lots. Approved additional lots at, at some time in the future. So we donated it and my family and I are very proud of the donation that we made to the city. It's a major thing that was done. We didn't look for any accolades or anything else, but we did donate it. It's the largest donation ever given in the 300-year history of Westminster. So it's
significant. It's one of the most significant things the city's done in years.
Yeah, and I'm so pleased that the city is taking the clubhouse, which would have been left to go. And it's really wonderful things for the city that they have this property. We're just hoping to get these lots approved so that I can get some of my money back that it took to get Stonegate going. And of course, we're very proud of Stonegate. It's a wonderful community that we've developed and houses there, and so that's the background on it.
Richard, just one quick question. Could you kind of outline what these houses are gonna be like? The value of them, I mean, what can somebody expect?
I buy a house in distance. I think these houses will be $1 million, maybe more.
What are the size, what's the square footage of whatever the square footage party that you have shown on here? Mr. Hackett,
I'm sorry.
what's the square footage of what these houses that you were showing on here roughly?
Well, they're ranging anywhere between like 2,800 to 3,800 square feet.
Okay.
4 bedroom, 3 baths, 2-car garage.
Yes,
That stuff.
yeah, which will be very nice. Right, it'll be a real asset to the city. We've done numerous communities over the years, and we're proud of the work we've done. We've operated, I think, in almost figured it out, 17 different states over my career. And this is the end of my career.
This is the last one. Because Richard's ready to retire.
After this one,
You're done.
I enjoy doing it. We're proud of it. I'm certainly very proud of. I've worked with Westminster since I was actually a kid. I worked at Webster's. It was a clothing company. I don't know if you know about that.
You're dating or something.
Well, I'm 80 years old.
I remember Mal, I don't remember Webster, but I was born in 1970, so.
Let me tell you something about retirement. You never really retire. You're just gonna get directed into something else, trust me. I promise.
I enjoy what I do. I'm proud of.
We're just picking on you a little bit.
Yeah, no, Tom's been great to work with all the years. We've done it.
All right, so any further questions from the commissioner staff?
Mr. Chair, I have a technical legal question, so I want to make a motion to go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice regarding the implications of a prior lawsuit regarding the property pursuant to Maryland Annotated Code, General Provision Article, Section 3305B7. I could give a second on that.
Second. And motion been made and seconded to go into closed session. Consult with counsel to obtain legal advice regarding the implications of a prior lawsuit regarding the property pursuant to the Annotated Code General Provisions Article Section 3-305B7. Any questions at this point?
And I'd like to, then we would continue the public hearing after we go to close.
Yes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it.
And just taking on that.
We have to reopen the public hearing.
We're back.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing to our October meeting for a variety of reasons. Number one, let's leave the public record open. We come back in October. Additionally, I would like to actually have the right traffic study to look at. And also, if you could get us a copy of whatever you submitted, because we obviously, you submitted this, we haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you could make sure staff gets that to us so that we can take a look at that, that would be good for us to, because we can't look at it while we're in the middle of the hearing itself. So I would like to make a motion that we continue to the October meeting. However, staff, I do need to check with you because I want to make sure we're clear about when the October meeting is going to be. Is because I'm not sure everybody could make the October 23rd meeting. Is it possible, and could everybody make if we did Tuesday, October 21st instead?
Believe.
Staff, can you make that work, Tuesday, October 21st?
We should go ahead now.
Yeah.
Because we need to tell them, because otherwise we'd have to re-advertise, we need to decide a date right now.
I think the 16th was gonna be a.
The 16th, I had an issue
Very
with,
big problem is, and the 23rd, we have some people that couldn't make it, so if we make it I'm flexible, that's a Monday though.
is the 21st possible, staff?
Yeah, yes.
If you would just be able to let whoever, because we haven't finalized the agenda.
The 21st
For that, correct?
I feel like.
We have not found-
Yeah, so those people that need to also, we just let them know. So is the 21st fine?
That's a Tuesday, right?
Good for
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
This is Tuesday.
Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, 21st it is.
So my motion would be that we continue the public hearing to Tuesday, October the 21st at 6 P.M.
That's the motion. Is there a second to that motion? Motion been made and seconded to continue the public hearing on this issue until October 21st, where we'll take it up again. Any further questions? All in favor say aye, opposed no, the ayes have it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't make it. Okay, so you guys make sure we have the current stuff, the current place. Give this to Mark so he can make sure.
Make sure we get a copy.
But
I will send an electronic copy
Yeah,
of
electronic,
that to
yeah.
Mark, that mostly that is things that you already had, but I will send an electronic copy to Mark. Sometimes it's helpful to have, I know that you get the electronic copy distributed with like all the attachments, but I'm a paper person. So sometimes I like you guys to have like a paper copy so you can look at it throughout. So I will get a
Yeah.
copy to him that he can distribute.
Yeah, but it's really different, and we might already have all this, but there's a ton of information here. And because we don't have multiple copies, it's hard for us to even begin to try to digest what's ever in there. And in all frankness, this is a complicated history for the project. And additionally, for whatever reason, this traffic study that we received is different than the traffic study that was being talked about tonight.
And Mark, you do have, I mean.
I do have it.
Yeah, so that was a clerical error on.
That was it, right?
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So you already have the correct traffic studies?
Yes.
Okay, so county liaison report. There is no report and the county staff are left. Since you didn't have anything to report. I'm not having that, I'm just saying, I understand. Planning commission comments. A lot of comments this evening. I don't hear any
Not
more.
enough.
Okay, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
Wait, can I say something real quick against staff? I just wanted to say the meeting on Tuesday, I felt with the joint meeting with the planning commission and the county planning commission, I thought went really well. I just wanted to thank the members who were able to come.
Oh, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up because I did receive a compliment or two after the fact that our presentation was really good. One of the members said it was among the better ones they got. Let me just leave it at that. So, and what I really liked about it was very collaborative. between everyone was there. So, you know, Kevin, I really appreciate you coming as well, and you of course were there as well.
Yeah, I think the important thing, there's a lot of concern about the fact that we build a lot of housing in this county, but we don't build a lot of housing that people can afford. And if there is one thing that we have to get better in this county doing, it's having houses that the young people, his kids, anybody else's kids have a place to live. Because they're gonna keep moving further and further away, and I think that's a tragedy. But
Not that there's anything wrong with.
That's a good thing though.
But you need a diversity of housing.
You need townhouses, apartments, condos, you need all those mixed housing. And to get everybody in the county with the municipalities and county on the same sheet is gonna take an act of Congress, I'm afraid, but it can be done. And I think it's really important.
And Mr. Chair, I think the other thing that we made very clear is there is still a perception out there that the city of Westminster does not have water. And I think we tried to make that very clear to the county planning commission that we do have water at this point for projects and and we also talked about the focus being on the continued infill parcels and redevelopment parcels. So anyway.
They got the biggest aquifer on this golf course
Yes.
previous.
That was, you know,
Very valuable.
The state will only let us take out so much water though, but anyway, but water reuse is coming.
Did you accept a joint meeting this week?
On Tuesday.
It was
Okay,
actually interesting, yeah. All right,
You can watch it.
yeah.
consider a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Thank you for your time.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.